1/3 of Jewish students in the university. It's a huge percentage. In America, the Jewish organizations can dream about such a percentage. Figures are much bigger. But it's also very important that you feel the shape, the power you have. Because I have to say, it's coming from the struggle for Soviet Jewry, the religious Jews, for our right, religious Jews and to go to Israel. This struggle succeeded only because from the very beginning it was a struggle of all the Jews of the world. And all the Jews of the world were mobilized to this struggle only because students of Kali. They'll spend a few minutes in order to understand, sometimes it's very difficult to understand how different was the world only 25 years ago and how important was the initiative of Jewish students. The Soviet Union was a powerful dictatorship, but maybe the most powerful dictatorship in the world, with physical control over 1/3 of the world, with control over 200 million citizens of its own, and in order to reach this control, this absolute control over the minds of these citizens, they killed tens of millions of its own Soviet citizens in order to control other people by fear. There's a regime which made big effort to erase Jewish identity of its 3 million Jews who lived there. I was one of absolutely assimilated Soviet Jews, assimilated meaning that we didn't know such words as Brit Milah, or Bar Mitzvah, or Purim, or Pesach. It didn't exist in our lives, but we knew that we were Jewish because that's what is written in the ID of your parents, and as a result, all the conversations at home are about discrimination and how to avoid it, how to survive in spite of this discrimination. And there were many voices in the world, all over the world, among Jews, that we have to help the Soviet Jews. And there was many very influential Jews in the Jewish establishment who were saying that we should not speak publicly about Soviet Jews because it is dangerous for them, because it undermines our position, for example, in the United States, because it puts our national agenda of Jewish citizens of America in danger because we have to replace this agenda with something which is not important for the other citizens of the United States of America. We will be accused that we are warmongers, we are those who are strengthening this atmosphere of Cold War instead of strengthening the atmosphere of detente, and so on and so on. And in the end of the 60s, the beginning of 70s, it was student struggle for Soviet Jewry in the United States of America. And it was bourgeois groups in Europe which decided to start demonstrating on behalf of Soviet Jewry in spite of these warnings. And in fact, in a few years, they succeeded to create such an atmosphere that nobody in the Jewish community could resist to this appeal that here are our brothers who are, in fact, in prison behind the Iron Curtain, and we cannot be silent. So now, in order to understand how this mechanism worked, I'll give you only one example. We, small group of Soviet Jewish activists, in order to attract attention of the world, we didn't have internet, we didn't have CNN, didn't exist. There was Iron Curtain. And my role as an activist of Jewish movement and human rights movement was sometimes to spend months on getting information to the world about what's happening in the Soviet Union with human rights and what's happening with the prisoners of Zion. So we organized a demonstration. Successful demonstration then in Moscow those days, the middle of 70s, was 10 Jews standing for 5 minutes at the center of Moscow with the slogans, give us visas to Israel or free the prisoners of Zion, something like that. Why only 10 Jews? Because the more people know about this demonstration, the more chance that the secret police will know. And if secret police will know, there will be no demonstration. Why only 5 minutes? Even if secret police, KGB, doesn't know in advance how long you can send such slogans at the center of Moscow. 5 minutes. And then you be arrested. And then there are punishments. 10 days, 15 days, 30 days, sometimes 5 years of exile to Siberia for such demonstration. So the question is, why it's worth trying? Well, for what to have this demonstration, to enjoy 5 minutes, and then to spend 5 years in Siberia. But if this demonstration is organized in the right way, that was one of my functions, to organize it in the right way, meaning that secret police doesn't know, but at least one foreign journalist knows. And it's very difficult then was even to meet with these foreign journalists because they were isolated from the bigger crowd. We live in special houses under the control of secret police. So if this one journalist knows, and he comes, and he'll inform about this demonstration. So we are arrested. In the evening, BBC and Voice of America and Radio Liberty, and of course Voice of Israel, are broadcasting all over the world about this demonstration. And next day, physically, hundreds of thousands of Jews all over the world go on demonstrations. They call to their senators and congressmen. They come to Washington and to other places to lobby. Their governments call for Soviet ambassadors. The Senate in America passes special resolutions linking all the interests of Soviet Union and economy in other places with the fight of Soviet Jews. You see, for example, today with Ukraine, how slowly it goes, whether to have sanctions. They worked immediately, and not because of Soviet Union was conquering some territories. Because 5 Jews were arrested in the center of Moscow with the slogans, let us go to Israel. And all this campaign of hundreds of thousands of Jews was possible only because in the very beginning, but there was a lot of hesitation, but there was a lot of doubts, but there was a lot of fear whether we should do or not do, whether it was fears of being accused in double loyalty. There were groups of students who actively went ahead, decided that's what we have to do, and that's changed the atmosphere in Jewish communities. And then that changed the atmosphere globally. And then in the end, after 20 years of struggle, the Soviet Union was defeated. Iron Curtain fell. 1 million Jews moved to Israel, and almost 1 million Jews moved to other places in the world. And the world became a freer place. So I want to say, never underestimate the strength which you have when you take initiative and lead. Speaking about today's situation in the campuses, I can say, frankly, I don't have much experience. I have practically no experience on the campuses in Australia, but I spent time in the last 15 years on more than 100 campuses in the United States of America. And as a result, I told to Ariel Sharon 12 years ago, his second government, that I believe by far the most important battle for the future of Jewish people is universities in the free world. And we in Jewish Agency developed a number of programs for Israeli fellows on campuses. That's what we are doing mainly in the United States. We start from 10, now we have 70. Our shlichim representatives on the campuses. We want to have 100 in America and 50 all over the world in order to make closer this connection between Jewish students and Israel in both directions. But the most important thing then is whether at every university there is a group of 10, 20 active Jews who are not afraid, who are not scared, who know how to argue, and who know how to move all this debate from emotional slogans to the real facts. And when we really succeed to move it to the facts, facts are on our side. And the campaign is, in fact, the soul of every young Jew, in order they feel that they should not be, that there is no reason for them to be ashamed of their connection, of their people, to their country. And in fact, they can be very proud. But I know that it's very difficult. In today's atmosphere, sometimes it seems almost impossible with the so-called liberal circles and so-called anti-Zionist Jewish professors and some of our ideological enemies in the Muslim world, and sometimes this union between them seems like absolutely impossible to overcome. But in fact, you and we all have many victories also. If you look at the energy which was in all the anti-Israeli movement 10 years ago on the campuses, and today we are definitely winning them. But as I always say to our shlichim, to our Israeli fellows on the campuses, don't report to me that anti-Israeli meeting brought 100 students and pro-Israeli meeting brought 200 students, so we have won. I want to remind you that on your campus in America, there are 6,000 Jewish students. So if there are 6,000 Jewish students and only 200 are involved in pro-Israel activity, it doesn't mean that we are stronger than our enemies. Because it means that there are overwhelming majority of those who or are afraid, or silent, or are indifferent. And that's what we have really to overcome. So we in Jewish Agency can help you, but it's you who can change the things. So now I'm ready to answer your question.
Okay. So if we have any questions from the floor? Mr. Sharansky.
Yeah.
The landmass of Australia is very, very large, and we've got a very, very spread out people. Just
Okay, can you stand up and speak up so people can hear?
we've got a very, very spread out population in general. Just looking at the distance from the universities in Sydney alone, the universities which all this has a presence on, there is a distance. The distances range as far as 80 kilometres. The shlichim in Australia that we've had, the Liora, Itai before, and the ones that came before them have been absolutely incredible and remarkable. Not only in helping us with events and helping us with ideas for advocacy for Israel, but also in showing us what it is to be Israeli and what it is to be connected to a world Jewry. However, we have not been able to completely take advantage of the valuable resource, especially in our other regions that are smaller than New South Wales and Victoria, like Western Australia, Queensland, and South Australia. And we understand that in America, in a population that's much closer, there is a shlichim on every campus, and I was wondering what are the chances of us having a shlichim in Australia more than just one in Australia, so that we can take full advantage of them as a resource.
First of all, we had to see that in non-American conditions it really works, and I think that example of Australia looks like a successful example. We have AUJS Shaliach in Melbourne. Yes, we do want to have this type of Shaliach also in Sydney. Well, you have to understand it all also comes to the question of where you put your limited resources and how you have the maximum response to this. The fact that there are thousands of Jewish students on one campus, it makes it easier for our enemies to concentrate their attacks, but it makes it also easier for us to put effectively our shlichim. In Europe, the situation is much more difficult. You can easily have a situation where you let in the critical university you have 30, 40 Jewish kids, but university is very important ideologically, and we have to work there. So we still didn't find the best forms of our work in every country. But it seems for us, from our experience, in Australia it's absolutely justified to have, in addition to Shaliach in Melbourne, Shaliach in Sydney, and we definitely are going to finish our negotiation with the Zionist Federation.
I was lucky enough to go on a birthright program funded through AUJS, and it was a really wonderful, life-changing experience for me. And I've since come back and become really, really involved in AUJS and in the wider Jewish community. But I would say I'm a minority of people who decide to do that, even though I know that everyone on my birthright really had an amazing, life-changing experience. I wonder if you have any advice as to following up with all, especially like the older, like 25, 26-year-old birthright participants, and any advice on how to get them more involved in the community.
Well, first of all, birthrights proved itself as a life-changing experience for hundreds of thousands of children. I remember this big debate in the Israeli government in 1998 when this idea was born. It was brought by some rich American Jews, and they said that we want Israeli government to participate. And the debate was whether we, Israelis, should take the money of our taxpayers and will give it to rich American Jews in order they will bring for free trips their children. That's like against the laws of nature. The laws of nature say they have to give us money. Why should we? So I'm very proud of the fact that I was among those few who convinced, and Bibi Netanyahu signed this letter to American Jews about supporting birthright. And that's how the program started. Today, nobody has to be convinced that it's very good for Jewish people, but it's also very important for the state of Israel. The trick is what you're doing after this. That's a big challenge. Usually here we cannot replace here communities which have to come in every community with many different inventive programs. What we can propose is, of course, different types of seminars which we're trying to do, and more meaningful, more long trips. We have, of course, Masa program, which came into this from 5 months to 1 year, and Australian Jews know how to use this Masa program better than many others. If they, the whole year, so Australian Jews found why for the whole year we can take 5 months and we can do this and this. So this. Now we found out that there are many young Jews who are not ready to go for 5 months, but after the birthright they have enough energy to do more. So we developed the program from 6 to 8 weeks, Israel on Board program, which is to bring, in fact, on summer semester, or winter semester, of internships, of learning, of social activism, different types of tracks, which we are developing for different groups, and we're already, it's only the second year. We start from 500, we have 1,000 this year, and the sky is the limit, because many federations, many Jewish organizations want to have their own groups. I know that in Australia, Jewish community is also discussed, and there are some initiatives in this direction. But again, not everything can be done from Israel. Israel can help, Israel can give some tools, we can develop some programs, and we are trying to come with the new programs. In fact, we are creating another track for Israel experiences. Almost every 2 weeks we have another track, which we are trying to propose to different groups. But you have to know in your local situation, you really have to think very carefully on every university, how those who are coming back from birthrights, how to use them, and how to give them different opportunities. Because enthusiasm in the first year after coming from birthrights is very high, but it will dissipate if you do nothing with this enthusiasm.
You mentioned that, can you hear me, right?
I mentioned.
Okay. You mentioned that a lot of students are silent because they're afraid or indifferent. I'm from Canada. In my campus at home, we have a group called Independent Jewish Voices, which is actively supporting a lot of the anti-Israel slander. We have a BDS motion that's trying to be passed tomorrow, and they're a sponsor of it. And there's also tons of students who are just silent because they're not necessarily, they think they support BDS, but they don't want to betray their community or family. So from both ends of that, how do you react to those students? Do you just ignore them, or do you try to, students are actively opposed or passively opposed?
No, you're speaking now, if I understand correctly, about Jews who are not afraid, who are not shy, who are not concerned about their professional future, but who really ideologically agree with it. That's what I would say. So there are people who ideologically agree. I think it is very important to challenge them with arguments, because very often, probably not always, but very often, they are ready to convince themselves with the false arguments. Why? Because they feel that's how they feel themselves more comfortable and more loyal to the society in which they live, and they want to show that in spite of the fact that they are Jews, they are not prejudiced because they are Jews. And, well, I had a conversation with many of them. First of all, I believe we have to talk to them. We have to debate. We have to provoke them to go from some political polemic statements to discussing the real facts. Because as a rule, when you go to the real facts, it's very difficult for them to defend their clear double standard. They show to Israel, they speak about human rights, and they demand boycotting the only country which has such a unique record of the human rights in that part of the world. They are ready to support the forces which are clearly demonizing Jews, and which the forces which are using the arguments with which all their ancestors were haunted. So they will deny in the beginning, they'll deny, no, it has nothing to do with the anti-Semitism. And then you have to show them with the facts. By the way, from my personal experience, and I had many debates like this on the campuses in America, it is very rare that you can make these people to change their mind. But those hundreds of Jews in the audience, it is very important for them to hear the other arguments, to understand that it's not something like that because of my Jewish identity, I go against the world, enlightened world of rationalism and justice. To the contrary. And so you ask whether you have to debate with them, of course, whether you have to argue with them, of course, but keep in mind that your success does not depend on the fact whether this person will agree with you. Your success is whether the influence of this person on others will be less. That's my view.
First of all, thank you so much for your time so far. My question is, in relation to, let's just say, the changing face of campuses, where definitely a larger crowd of students are participating in their studies online and not actually attending university physically, how do you see the role of student activism changing into like the online sort of spectrum?
Well, first of all, that's the question in which each of you is by far bigger expert than I am. Because all my major activism and struggle and challenges, the risks were in the world where online didn't exist. And where I was at some period of time, internet one of the internet provider for Soviet Jews, but the speed of information sometimes was counted even not in weeks but in months, if not years. So we had to organize, and thousands of Jews all over the world had to be involved in bringing this information, taking it back, bringing it to other Jewish organizations or to politicians. It all took a lot of time. I can look on with big envy on this world where you are simply pushing on the button and all the information goes all over the world. Also, good thing is that that's the place where most of the young people spend most of their time. So if you ask where you can reach non-affiliated, on the internet, where else? So all this creates great opportunities, but also big challenges. For example, it's clear to me that our struggle to strengthen Jewish identity, if we don't have interesting programs on internet, if you will not make it interesting, the learning about your identity through internet, there is no chance to win. Well, some specialists on Silicon Valley told me with big pride, if you, with your program, don't exist on the internet, you don't exist on this internet. Well, I was almost insulted because usually I don't exist on the internet. My daughters are there. My grandchildren at the age of 3 already are there, but not me. But it's truth. So we really have to find out how to speak interestingly, excitingly about Jewish identity through internet. How to make Jewish identity not part of the world of your grandfathers and your bar mitzvahs, of your Sunday schools, separated from the world of interesting world of justice for everybody and advance and progress and so on, but how to make it one. And because I personally know from my own experience that it's the same world and it's deeply connected. And the meaning of your life you're getting from your identity and the energy, but you're using it for changing the world around you. So, because I know that that's the truth, there must be the ways to show this truth or to make this truth interesting and exciting on the internet. If you ask me how, that's not the question to me. If you will not find the answer, then my grandchildren will find.
Mr. Sharansky, I understand that you're a keen chess player, and I'm just interested to hear from you how you sort of apply this strategy from chess in your professional life.
Well, very good question, thank you. Those who want to know exactly the answer, you can read my book, Fear No Evil, about my years of imprisonment. They will find a lot about how use chess in daily life, even in the interrogations of KGB. I can tell you that at the age of 8, my dream was to be the world champion. Then at some moment I understood that I was in a provincial Ukrainian town. It's very different. There was no internet to become a world champion. I became champion of my city, but it was not enough. And because I was very ambitious, so I moved from chess to mathematics. Then I understood that I will not be the number 1 in the world. Then I moved to become a prisoner of Zion. That's why. But there, as a prisoner of Zion, I really understood why chess was such an important hobby for me. Because chess, I liked chess. I had a special theory when I was very, very young, and I wasn't very tall then too. So my theory was that the taller is the person, the quicker I'll win him in chess. And I proved it again and again to myself, so it was giving me a lot of pride and compensation. And then I learned to play simultaneously with dozens and dozens of people. Then I learned to play without looking on the board with 1, and then simultaneously with 3 people without looking at the board. But it was mostly a hobby. And I was champion of my city or my university, but not more than this. When I was arrested, finally I knew why I'm using it. I spent hundreds and hundreds of days in punishing cells. Punishing cells is a small room of 2 meters to 3, very, very, half of this table, that's punishing cell. And very cold and very hungry, and 3 pieces of bread, 3 cups of water, and nobody to talk to, very dark, no furniture, nothing. And I spent there hundreds of days. So I'm playing chess in my head. Thousands and thousands of games. And I win each of them. And each time I won with white, then in the next game, I'm improving it for the black. And I win for the black. Then in the next game, I improve it again. So the KGB hopes that I will be degenerating intellectually. People are almost falling apart. And I'm feeling myself stronger and stronger and stronger. In addition to this, all this logical thinking and connecting aims and meaning, tools to reach these aims and turning tools into the aims. I will not go into the theory of games, but I use it a lot in the fight against the logical fights, or intellectual fights against KGB during years of interrogations. provoked you enough, that you will buy my book and read more about it. Okay. You can buy it on Amazon if you know. When I wrote it 20 years ago, it was mainly for people who have to go through KGB interrogations. But then later I found out that many others also can use it. More questions?
So, in the introduction for your 2004 book, The Case of Democracy, you talk about how you were very influential in George Bush's creation of his policy regarding the war on terror. I was wondering about, given the way that the war on terror has progressed, your current views on where it's headed and how to deal with a lot of the backlash regarding the war on terror.
You said that in my book, 2004, The Case of Democracy, I described how influential I was on President Bush's policy.
Yes.
Well, President Bush read my book, The Case for Democracy, and after this he said that those who want to understand my philosophy have to read this book. So he was my great book agent. But I cannot take credit for his policy, which started years before I wrote my book, and I got to know him only when he read my book. So he was very good in selling my book, because when he said on CNN, read this book, it really helped. I went on Amazon in 1 hour. I went from number 100 to number 2. So I only can wish him that in other things he could be as successful in selling my books. But there were things which he really shared deeply, and I have to say that I met him many times. He had some very passionate sympathy to the democratic dissidents all over the world, and he personally met with more than 100 democratic dissidents, and I organized many of these meetings. So, as he was saying, I always felt that freedom is not American invention. It's something which is deep in the hearts of people, and he wanted to see it more and more among democratic dissidents. On the other hand, there were things which he absolutely didn't get it. In that book I explained why free elections, it's not democracy. Free elections, free society, that's democracy. And that's why you cannot build on totalitarian regimes having elections, you are checking that they are free, and then you declare that that's democratic governance. And I had a big argument with him after this about Yasser Arafat and Hamas, and later about Iraq elections. And unfortunately, he disagreed with this, and but I would say, with what is happening today in the world, first of all, it's a very big question. But the so-called Arab Spring, and I was, and still, I'm very enthusiastic about what happened in the Arab world with the Arab Spring. I do, in fact, to some extent was predicted in that book, that sooner or later every dictatorship is collapsing, because the people who are in the dictatorship are turning from true believers to double thinkers and then to dissidents. There is a lot of criticism saying, you see, Arab world is not for democracy, you see what's happening with the Arab Spring. I would say the most unfortunate thing which shows the Arab Spring is not that in the Arab world there were no institutions for freedom. We knew it. But the fact that the Western world, the free world, is betraying these principles regularly, and instead of supporting, saying that our only allies in that Arab Spring world are democratic dissidents, they are constantly looking for the new set dictators, which will be loyal to us, and by this they will become our base in the future. And that's a permanent mistake which is done, and unfortunately today, if you look, although I always give the example, we, the democratic dissidents of the Soviet Union, we knew there is Iron Curtain, and there is awful empire. But behind, there is free world in America who always share our values. Look what today on internet, thanks God there is internet, on their sites, write Egyptian democratic dissidents and Iranian democratic dissidents about the free world and about America, and how they feel themselves betrayed, how they feel lonely in this world. And that's, I believe, is the biggest tragedy. Well, that's a whole different topic, which you can buy my book. Democracy, read it, and then we'll discuss it. Okay? And my third book, by the way, is Defending Identity, because I do believe that freedom and identity go together. Every person in the world wants to be free and to belong. And we Jews are so lucky that we have such a powerful identity. And because I discovered it only when I was 20-something, and I discovered both identity and freedom together, I know what an excitement is when we Jews discover that we have such unique history and such unique people and such unique state, and that can give you a lot of strength. And you have only to share it with others.
Final question.
Speaking of Jewish identity, one of the most compelling and often confronting questions that we ask working in the Jewish community with young adults is why be Jewish? And I'm interested to hear your answer and your thoughts on this critical question. Why should we be Jewish in this day and age?
Yeah, well, that's the question. Why to be Jewish? For many, it didn't exist for hundreds of years when to be Jewish meant to be part of Orthodox world. It didn't exist. But in the last 200 years, it's haunting us, this question. And today, when we have practically in every community in the world, from my observation, we have two tendencies. One is Haredization, ultra-Orthodox world to become more ultra-Orthodox, and the other is assimilation. These are two big processes which happen. And for this world of assimilating Jews, the main question, when we try to stop them, is why to be Jewish? I think there are many reasons why to be Jewish, but for me the most important is we have a unique, as I said just before, people want to belong. People want the life with meaning. People want the life which is not simply physical existence from the day you were born and when you die, but that there is some meaning in what was before and what you want to bring to the future. And I have to say, not every person is so lucky as Jews who can so easily discover that they, if they want, they can be part of such a unique, somebody said winning team, if you think in terms of history, but okay, I would not use words of winning, but the group of people which has such tremendous, unbelievable influence on the world, on all what is important for you in the world. It was reached in the world because of unique path, the unique influence of Jewish people, and you can be part of it. Sometimes I have at our Shabbat table, we have very different type of guests. I ask exactly this question. What do you think, why to be Jewish? I have to say, sometimes I have some very serious professors and rabbis and so on, and they can give very sophisticated questions, answers. And once I had a very, not illiterate, but person who is from the world of sports. Well, in Australia, it's something very honorable to be from the world of sports, but not not in some other place. And I didn't expect from him any serious answer. And he told, well, I want to be Jewish because I want to be with the winning team. And you know, there is something very simple, very arrogant, almost primitive, but if you think there is one. But again, there is no one answer. You really have to, every person will have to understand what's important for him or for her and to come with the answer for that. Okay.
I just, on behalf of AUJS, like to thank Natan Sharansky for giving me time to us. It was an immersive, insightful talk, and we really enjoyed this opportunity. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I want campaign, which Mr. Sharansky has kindly endorsed for us today, and last time in Melbourne as well.